Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to make this DIY inexpensive rustic card box for a rustic chic wedding. We're going to need some craft paper from the Dollar Tree, this cardboard box from the Dollar Tree. It is a hanging file folder box is what it says, and a ruler, preferably metal with a straight edge, glue gun, X-Acto knife. And I found this burlap fabric as a remnant for $2.50 from Walmart. And then for embellishments, I have the Dollar Tree natural burlap and scissors and packing tape. Let's go. So as you guys know, I like to do a tutorial for everybody of different skill levels. So if you kind of see where this is going, you don't really have to watch the whole thing. But if you've never made this before or covered a box with fabric or contact paper before, then we'll go ahead and stay tuned. We're going to cut a slit in the box, and the slit is going to be 1/2 inch by 8 inches, which is standard. You know, most cards are set 5 by 7 relatively, but you know, bigger cards will fit in just sideways. And 1/2 inch is the perfect width that you can get cards in and not get cards out so easily. So I'm just measuring straight lines. This box I measured 2 1/4 inches in from both sides and 2 1/4 inch in from the top and bottom, but you go ahead and do whatever. And it doesn't have to be perfectly centered. That's just me being me. Okay, and then use the X-Acto knife with the straight edge to cut it out. And I took precautionary measures that I wanted to cover the handles with tape so nobody would accidentally put their hands in and ruin the box. But that's not necessary. Then I went ahead and I assembled the box as per package instructions. And then we're going to cover it with fabric. So if you guys have never done a covered box before, it's not as hard as it seems. But I'll show you how to do it real quick. The first thing I wanted to do is cover the words. That's what the craft paper is for, just because it's the same color as the cardboard box. And I just basically cut out pieces and used the packing tape just to cover the words so that they wouldn't show up through the burlap. And simple as that. And then we're going to do the same thing for the top of the box and cover those words. This box was inspired by a box we saw from Michaels, and the box from Michaels was $39.99. I figured even with a 40% off or 50% off coupon, that'd be way too much for a covered box. So because I was able to get my burlap for $2.50, this box really just cost me around less than $4 to make. I had the burlap ribbon before, but the box was $1. I had the craft paper, but you guys see what I mean. And for you guys who don't know, in some parts of the country, it's tradition to give money gifts in envelopes at weddings. And I know in some parts of the country, it's traditional just to give gifts that maybe the bride is registered for. But this is actually to collect cards for a wedding. So now we're going to go ahead and cover them with the burlap. What we're going to do is just roughly measure the burlap around the box so we don't have to work with extra. And we're just going to cut off whatever extra we don't need, okay? So as you see here, I'm trying to just roughly wrap and make sure I have enough on the ends, both ends. It is a lot like wrapping a present at Christmas time. But this particular box, because the because the cover is hinged, it's just a little bit extra steps is all. Now, one thing that I did to help myself, I found that if I cut along one of the rows of the burlap, then it made it so much easier to get squares and straight lines. What I did was I started with the front corner of the box, and I've glued the edge of the burlap that I cut just along the straight edge. And again, I followed all of the squareness of the fabric. As you see here, I'm adjusting with my fingers just to say, like, if I can keep the burlap square against the box, it will make it so much easier and look so much more professional at the end. Neater, really. So what I'm doing here is I'm going along the finished edge of the box, and I'm just trying to make sure that I keep the box square on the fabric. I just picked a row and went with it. Now I'm cutting off the extra bottom fabric Just make sure you have enough to go like you're wrapping a present. Make sure you have enough to complete the bottom. I think the most important thing to remember as you go along is with the fabric is try to pull it tight as you go. As you can see, I have some wrinkles here, but that very easily could be ironed out if that's the look you're going for. If you want something neat, I could have ironed this burlap first. You just want to make sure you use the proper heat setting. But since she's going for a really shabby chic, rustic looking wedding, we didn't worry about the wrinkles. We didn't worry about the imperfections because the imperfections are what makes it perfect for her. So if you could see, I've just been going along and now I'm doing the bottom, and I'm just using glue where you would use tape if you were wrapping a present. Try to get along the very edge. Of course, mind your fingers. I use my scissor from time to time if I've put on an excessive amount of glue. Then I use my scissor to push it down, and it comes off the scissors real easy. And then I've decided to fold in the short sides and then fold in the long sides. And what's important here is that you glue along the fold, that triangle fold, and you go ahead and make sure that you glue all of that down. So you don't want any loose fabric so it wouldn't potentially fall over. And now, I'm sorry it's off camera a little bit, but what I'm actually doing is I'm gluing in, oh there we go, you can see there. I'm gluing inside the box. I'm basically going around the sides and gluing on the inside of the box and tucking the fabric in on the inside of the box. You could line this box with paper or other fabric, but it's only for the bride and the groom to see inside anyway, so it doesn't have to be fancy inside. But now we're going to go ahead and we're going to work on the top. So we work on the top with the top open. And first thing we do is the short sides, just like we did the box bottom. And I'm sorry it's off camera again. I didn't realize how much I had kept pulling it closer to myself when I was working. But you see, you just run a bead of glue and roll the fabric over. Just mind your fingers. And then when you get to this edge, I glued along the edge and then started with the center, pulled the fabric taut, and then worked towards my right and then worked back towards the left. And again, keeping in mind that square line. So here's the part that could be tricky, is how to deal with the corners. There is a couple of different ways. You could just pull them tight and go walk yourself around the corner, is the way I was always taught. Or you can fold it like I've decided to do here. I've decided to go ahead and make it look just like the bottom. I'm going to fold it just like a present. So I'm making that triangle. Make sure you glue that little edge of that triangle down so that you can get that finished look. And then on the inside of the box lid, we're just going to go ahead and pull it tight, glue it down, make sure that the seam and the corner is really neat. And the last section of the lid that we do is the inside of the centerpiece. It's the last because it's the first thing you notice. I know that sounds silly, but that's pretty much how it goes. So you just want to see, I'm just being careful, gluing down all of the extra edges. And now we're going to work on the slit. The slit, basically the hole that gets all the cards going through. What I did first was I ran a bead of glue on the inside just to hopefully not move the burlap. And then I stuck my scissors from underneath and cut straight down the middle. And I really do apologize that all of this was off camera. I had to hold it so close to my body while I was doing it because basically we put a bead of glue and we pulled the fabric through the hole as tight as possible. And there's such a little bit amount of fabric there, so it was just very careful. You want to make sure that you just pull through the other side, just basically how we did with all the other fabric. And that's it for putting the box together. Now on the embellishments. Now of course you could do whichever embellishments that you like. The inspiration was actually a piece of crocheted lace down the middle, but we went with the burlap thing. And we got the burlap from the Dollar Tree, so we just glued a piece down the middle, and then I went ahead and made a burlap rose. It's basically a ribbon rose, if you guys have ever seen it with burlap ribbon, and it does look super duper rustic. So I do have a tutorial for this I will link it up in the cards and down below. And then I'm just cleaning it up. and gluing it solid. Then you cut the bottom off. I decided to stick the ruler underneath where I was gluing it because I didn't want to glue it to the box. I wanted to give the bride the option of changing the embellishments. So as it is, everything is glued just to that burlap ribbon, and that burlap ribbon is just glued to the inside of the box and the bottom of the box so that she could change it as she sees fit. And that's it. Thank you all for all your love and support. Thank you all for watching. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments down below. Don't forget to click like and subscribe. And as always, take care. God bless. We'll see you next time. Bye.